Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us for Thursdays with AARP Wisconsin. I am Amber Miller, your host, and also the Associate State Director of Community Outreach. So thank you again for being here today. Before we get started with our guests today, of course, just some announcements. If you're interested in learning more about upcoming virtual workshops, information about vaccines, Social Security, Medicare, anything you can think of, please visit our website at aarp.org/WI, which is for Wisconsin. You can find all information there. Also, friendly voice. So I talk about this during every show. You can go to the website below, which is aarpcommunityconnections.org. So besides friendly voice, which is that you could put a request in for yourself or for a loved one to get a friendly phone call from one of our AARP trained volunteers. There's also information on there if you're looking for volunteer opportunities within your area. So I encourage you to go to the website below or the phone number, which is 1-888-281-0145. Once again, 1-888-281-0145. For the friendly voice, as a friendly reminder, it's open to any age, and you do not need to be an AARP member to take advantage of that. Even though we are not doing in-person workshops or presentations at the moment, we are still looking for great volunteers to join the AARP Wisconsin team. So if you're interested right now in possible virtual opportunities, and then hopefully at a later date some in-person, you could go to the website below, which is aarp.org, and then /I-want-2 volunteer. Also, this information is on the AARP Wisconsin website. So if you or a friend or a family member are interested in joining our team, they can visit the website below. So this right here, I'm excited about this show. I'm always excited about show, but I'm extra excited about this one. And it's kind of a special announcement too. But we are happy to announce the collaboration between AARP Wisconsin and BizStarts. And BizStarts is out of Milwaukee. This will be geared towards minority small business owners in city and county of Milwaukee. So as we know, starting a business is a great option if you are unemployed, underemployed, retired, or even looking maybe to turn your hobby into a business. So today I am joined by Patrick Snyder, who is the Executive Director of BizStarts, and we're going to talk a little bit about more about this collaboration. Welcome, Patrick.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, Amber, and it's really terrific to see you. And thanks so much for the partnership and everything you do in the community. I don't know if your listeners know that you're a hero in the community and all the great work that you've done over the last 10 years, but I feel blessed to know you, and thanks for having us on.
Well, thank you, and vice versa. You do a lot of amazing things also within the city of Milwaukee County and state. If you're just joining us, we're going to be talking about the new collaboration between AARP Wisconsin and BizStarts. So if you have a question or comment, you can share it below. If you're on Facebook, you can post it, or on YouTube, and we're going to be taking live questions during the show. So Patrick, even though I kind of did a surface introduction, but yeah, if you could talk a little bit about BizStarts, and then your role at BizStarts, because I'm thinking some of our viewers, this may be the first time they've heard of BizStarts.
Yeah, sure. I'll give you a little bit of a history, and it does have a pretty unique background. About 12 years ago, a gentleman in Milwaukee named Dan Steininger saw a problem, which is what most entrepreneurs do. They see a challenge in the community, and then they try to fix it. And basically what, Dan was having issues with in his mind was that there weren't enough new companies starting in Milwaukee or even the state of Wisconsin. And Dan had a little extra horsepower because he's a legacy in the community, and that Dan Steininger is the grandson of Daniel Hone, who the Hone Bridge is named after. So he gathered a lot of city leaders like Laura Goff at Baird, like the folks from Harley Davidson. John Olin sits on our board of directors, who's the CFO of Harley. And many others. Ann Hanna, who's with the Thoreau Group, and now our president, Frank Cumberbatch at Bader. So long story short, there were just a lot of people that were behind Dan's vision. And at that time, it was entrepreneurship in scalable companies. So basically, just kids that were in college that were just getting out that needed to get their businesses going. And what they were providing at that time was coaching, one-on-one coaching for the entrepreneurs. They were providing a mentor forum, which means that they'd get a group of business leaders together to give the business advice to get it going, and then connections to resources, so that they would, if the business needed a loan, they'd go to Wibbick, which you worked for, Amber, at one time. If the business needed basically marketing advice, they would go ahead and get them to Nelson Schmidt. So it's just a lot of different things that they were doing. And at that time, I served on the BizStarts board of directors. So that's just a brief kind of where BizStarts was. Would you like me to mention where they are now?
Yeah, I would love it.
Yeah. So, the thing is when I was serving on the board, I noticed one thing, and it wasn't a phenomenon, it was just the way things went, is that a lot of groups were catching up to BizStarts. So the universities were taking over with training their own students in entrepreneurship and literally starting entrepreneurship departments in all the universities in Milwaukee. There was a group called Generator that was started that was focused on scalable businesses. There is a group called Scale Up that focuses on scalable businesses. So we were no longer solving a problem, really, because they had plenty of background. But one place that didn't get advice or any kind of support was entrepreneurship in underserved communities. So what we did was, I kept complaining at the board level, like, why aren't we doing something about this? Others were jumping on board, and finally, the board said, "Hey, if you want to give this a go, you can be our executive director and see if you can solve this problem." And just a little bit about my background at that, I had started a small business that was successful. I was also working at a group called USASB, which is the United States Association for Small Business and Entrepreneurship. And amongst other things, we were the largest organization in the world for faculty that teach entrepreneurship. So the thinking was, hey, what if we go to the professors and see who's done the most research on this, see who's got a track record for starting companies in underserved areas, and then borrow that program for Milwaukee.
And it's a really great program, which is, this collaboration between AARP and Wisconsin and BizStarts will officially be launching next month. We're going to get into that. And once again, if you're watching this live, you're hearing this firsthand news. The press release hasn't went out or anything, but just hearing the passion, Patrick, that you have, and also BizStarts as a whole, it just made sense for us to collaborate on this and ensure that, minority small business owners, whether it's new or existing, have the resources, support, and opportunity that BizStarts can give to them. And I really think that's great. And Patrick, if you don't mind too, I know you guys just moved offices, and if you could maybe just talk about why you guys made the choice to move to your new location.
Yeah, certainly. I'll back up just a little bit, just to talk a little bit about the program and how thrilled we are with AARP and you guys stepping in, because that's another important thing is that we did find the person, the professor that we were looking for that had done this. And he's a gentleman named Professor Michael Morris, who's at the University of Notre Dame. And what was thrilling about working with Michael, who's the first piece of this puzzle, is that Michael had started several hundred companies between South Africa and Haiti, and then come to the United States, did the program at University of Florida, working in Gainesville, which has an underserved community, and started many businesses there using this program. And then Notre Dame heard about his success after being at Florida, at Syracuse, and other. He started like 4 top 10 programs in the United States. And Notre Dame wanted him to do it in South Bend. So we talked to Michael. We we basically talked him into doing the program here in South Bend. And it's got a few good things going for it. One is it's a 6-week boot camp that focuses really on entrepreneurship and underserved. So it's different than a college program in that they teach the kids to go out and get loans and then scale the businesses, where the folks we're working with, how do you basically start a company when you don't have any money? Or how do you do marketing when you don't have any resources? Or how do you find customers when you have daycare problems that day, or you or your son stayed out all night, or a myriad of problems, or daughter, that could happen to these underserved businesses. And then all of a sudden you guys walk in and you said, hey, guess what? We think you're doing an okay job with this program here in Milwaukee. We're going to partner with you, and we're going to give you some money to give each of these businesses, which is seed capital, to get these things going. So it's absolutely unbelievable. One other thing I'll mention about the program is after the folks graduate, they are introduced to a comparable businesses that's already doing well, and they're assigned a mentor. And then they're also assigned the student consultants from Marquette and UWM. And what the students do is things that the business would normally pay for. And the students are volunteers and angels, basically, like, thank goodness for those students. But they provide their website for them. They create simple flyers. They get their numbers in QuickBooks. Ernst & Young helps with their accounting. The Marquette Legal Clinic gives them free legal. So they go through these 25 steps to being in business with their student consultants, and they check boxes until they're far enough along to launch.
Wow. And I know this this boot camp is open to all ages. I know specifically we're really trying to collaborate with you, especially on that, like 45 and older, because it could be, once again, that you're underemployed, unemployed, and you're thinking, wow, I've been doing this hobby for a while, and maybe I can turn it into something lucrative, or, I want to be my own boss and maybe create jobs within the local community. And so I know, maybe if we could talk a little bit about the BizStart Institute, which is kind of what you're talking about with the boot camp. But if you could talk a little bit about, like, when did this boot camp launch? What was your first class? And maybe just a little bit about anything else you want to talk about, because we could talk all day about it.
Yes, and I certainly can, because I have a ton of passion and just love what we're doing and seeing these businesses get started. We started last September during COVID. We picked a spot, St. Anne's, and I will talk about the new office at St. Anne's.
Okay. And I know we do have a couple pictures too that Darren will bring up while you're talking.
Yeah, that's Ann Hanna, who's our president, and she runs the Thoreau group. And she did some teaching outside of Institute, and when she heard she could do the section on knowing your numbers, she started going. So there's 6 classes in the boot camp. It starts off as inspirational and tells the person what they'll be doing throughout their entrepreneurial journey. And then the second course is the one Ann's teaching right now, is on knowing your numbers, knowing your cost to break even, knowing what you need to set goals for in terms of profit and margins, knowing how to do a budget, knowing how to do a forecast. And it really helps them with their numbers. And then we go into business modeling after that. So they know that they're inspired, they know their numbers, and then they get into the business modeling on the 3rd class. 4th class is on marketing. And then 5 and 6 are basically on fine-tuning that operation.
And so the location is at St. Anne's Center, which, if you want to talk a little bit about your new office being there, and then just in case people don't know what St. Anne's is, if you would be so kind to just kind of talk about what St. Anne's is in general.
Yeah, so BizStarts office is back in the scalable business days, was in Schlitz Park. And although we had a great facility, and Schlitz Park was a wonderful landlord, for lack of a better word, I just thought that we were putting our entrepreneurs out now that we were, basically in the communities doing our boot camp. Why wouldn't we move into the neighborhood? So We moved into St. Anne's, which is an intergenerational care facility during the day, meaning that they have, younger kids that come in, and it's a preschool. They have older adults, senior citizens coming in, which means it's sort of an assisted daycare. And then the two groups are able to play with each other, not so much during
Great.
COVID. They're still 6 feet apart, and we have masks, and we do the same thing when we did the Institute last September at St. Anne's, is that I want to point it out because it's important. We needed a space that was big enough for 250 people, so we could train 25 safely. So you can see how far apart those chairs are from each other. And if there was an overhead view, they would all be 10 feet apart. Everybody was masked, as you can see. Everybody was given hand sanitizer, and we checked temperatures when they came in. So we were able to do the program safely in person at St. Anne's during COVID.
And Patrick, I also want to add to our viewers, and then we're going to get to a question. St. Anne Center, which is run by Sister Edna, and Sister Edna's last name is slipping my mind, but everybody knows her as Sister Edna, was an AARP Purpose with a Prize winner about 2 years ago, and she does such amazing things in St. Anne Center. If you're not in the Milwaukee area, definitely look it up. Her model of that intergenerational is amazing, and I love that BizStarts now, has your office there. You're like in the neighborhoods where the small businesses are, but also just kind of having a different feel. So I want to say kudos on your move. And it looks like we have a question from Jim Flaherty. So Jim is asking, are there any plans to expand the class offerings, the BizStart Institute outside the Milwaukee area in the future?
Actually, there are 9 other. We are going to expand to the south side of Milwaukee too with our Latino initiative, but there are already, I believe, actually 11 cities now that are doing the program with Professor Morris's blessing. He started an organization called GPPE, which is the Global Poverty and Entrepreneurship Initiative. And basically what he's trying to do is spread this all over the world. And he's in that GPPE is a membership organization, and he's already has thousands of members at universities and entrepreneurship centers across the globe that are already part of that organization. So you'll see this expanding everywhere. And if you need to get hold of Michael, is it okay if I give my email address?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, just email me at psnyder, PSNYDER, at BizStarts.com, and I'll connect you with Michael, and maybe you can get one of these going in your city.
Absolutely. And Patrick, I know right now we're focusing a lot on the actual boot camp, which to me, the education to start your business or expand your current business, to me, and there's Patrick's email right there, is so important, because we know that a lot of people start a business without the resources, without a business plan, without the support system they need. But so that is great. But we also, there's a component of the pitch competition, which the pitch competition, of course, if you want to maybe just talk a little bit about that. I know we're still finalizing some details, but if you maybe just want to briefly talk about that.
Yeah, so the idea of the pitch camp, the pitch competition was entirely AARP's, which was just incredible when they came to us with this opportunity. And we're so proud to be partnering with you. And long before you approached me about AARP, I was a personal member. My mother was a member. And it's just one of those groups where you have to, I mean, none of us is smarter than all of us. And because of AARP, a lot of people get things at discounted prices. They get unbelievable information. They get unbelievable programs. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
But the thing about, you had come to us with this opportunity, and you and I kind of fine-tuned it, right? We were like, well, maybe all the businesses should get money. It's not fair for, 3 of the 25 businesses to go through to get all the money, while the others kind of just finished this inspirational boot camp and now didn't win anything.
Correct.
So we AARP and BizStarts agreed that, hey, let's give them all a little bit of money, and then let's also give some nice prizes to the businesses that are going to be very, very successful in a hurry. So we're figuring out what that little bit of money is and what that large amount of money is, but that's the way that it's going to go. And the week of graduation, we'll go ahead and have that pitch competition.
Yeah.
We'll get it down to 3 finalists, and then those 3 finalists will be awarded money.
Yeah, and what a great way for all the entrepreneurs to have that little bit of opportunity when it comes to seed money. We use the word seed money when it's kind of a small pot of money, but we know thousands of dollars is great, but even a couple $100 sometimes can really make the world of difference when you're just starting your business, and we know marketing is important, maybe technology is important, and just how that could just like give you one leg up on starting your business successful. And Patrick, I know we have a picture of one of your clients that we're going to bring up, and I was wondering if you would be so kind to share this gentleman's story and how he worked with you.
Oh, yeah, that's the very handsome Lamar Love, who came to us because he had just literally gotten out of prison. Lamar is a very special and intelligent person, and we had a real heart for Lamar because he was incarcerated for 30 years for drug use, and putting someone in a hole for 30 years for having an addiction problem is just doesn't make any sense, but I won't go into that. But he did learn how to bake in prison. And we knew that he had fantastic cookies, and they had differentiation, which is what you need to be an entrepreneur. There has to be a reason why people buy your products over something else. And Lamar's cookies were gluten-free. They were sweetened with agave, which is good for you. It lowers your blood pressure, agave does, and they were absolutely delicious. So our mentors are sometimes members of our board, and Lamar was working with people like John Olin, the CFO of Harley, or Ann Hanna, who I just mentioned ran in the Turo group, and we taught him some big client sales strategies, and he finally got an appointment with Hush Blackwell. And Paul Eberly came into the room with his buyers, and long story short, they tasted the cookies and they agreed with me that they're the best cookies they ever tasted. And he asked Lamar the price of his cookies, and knowing that they were doing business with Panera. Yeah. Basically, Lamar said, I press it exactly like Panera, but my cookies are better. And then I gave Lamar a look like, I think we sold it. Don't buy it back. Like, just don't say another word, And he wisely, I'm sure he agreed with me at that time. And Paul said, okay, you got the order. And we were like, well, how many cookies is that a year? And he's like, well, we spent about $30,000 worth a year in cookies. And it's changed Lamar's life in a second. We literally, and it's such a fun story to tell, because we got into the elevator and we were high-fiving, like going crazy. We both started crying. We couldn't believe it. Yeah.
That's why it's so important, of course, to try to support local as much as you can. But his story hopefully will resonate with our viewers, whether it's maybe you were formerly incarcerated, or maybe you are over the age of 50, or maybe you were learning a new skill that you're like, oh my gosh, I do want to make this into a business. And the resources and the education and the one-on-one mentoring and support is just so important for people to be successful, because a lot of times, and Patrick, you might agree with this, and if not, I apologize, but when people are wanting to start a business, they sometimes don't have the support of their family. A lot of friends and family think they might be just like out of their mind and be like, you need to get a job, or nobody's going to buy your product. And I think that's why BizStarts in general is just so important, but also with the boot camp and the pitch competition, all the resources and support that you're giving to the community is just so crucial.
Yeah, thanks a lot. There's so many stories like Lamar. There's another lady, LaQuisha, who has Blossom Candle Company. from an underserved area, was making beautiful candles that were aromatherapy and also therapeutic, with herbs and spices that make you feel better. She's working with John Florsheim. If the name sounds familiar, it's because Florsheim Shoes is her mentor about retail strategies. She's in all 4 Outpost stores now, and then she's also selling into other retail. So it's just not Lamar's story. And we got a half hour, but I could go on forever. There are 15 out of the 25 that started in September that are cash flow positive, meaning that they're doing this as their job. And then we had another cohort in May. And companies are already starting from that cohort. So things are moving along and people are seeing success.
And Patrick, I know we're going to be closing out our show, but what, if people are looking, our viewers are like, wow, I happen to be in the Milwaukee area, and maybe want to join your boot camp or more information about BizStarts, if you could talk a little bit about the website and where they can find information maybe to register for the boot camp.
Sure. And basically the boot camp, the value that Michael and others has put on is $1,000 value. We do give scholarships to everybody that shows need, meaning if you have financial need, you're going to get that money for sure. And you go to BizStarts.com. You go into the upper left-hand corner and click the BizStarts Institute button and fill out that application. And that's the first step to you firing your boss and starting your own company.
Beautiful. Well, and I think we have a phone number too. If just in case you don't have access to the technology, you could call 414-973-2334, which is the BizStarts office. Patrick, always a joy. I know you and I have another speaking engagement right after this to talk about the same thing, which I'm just excited. I hope, I know this boot camp graduates in October. We would love to have you come back and maybe with a couple of the graduates too, and just talk about the experience, because we're just really excited about this collaboration, and we just know the resources for the small business owners are just going to be tremendous.
Yeah, thanks so much, AARP. And another thing is, if someone wants to get into that one-on-one coaching right away, they can go to BizStarts.com in the upper right-hand corner and click Begin BizStarts. But everything you need to get started is on that page. And hello, everybody, and I hope everyone's having a great afternoon.
Great, Patrick. Thank you, as always. Always good to see you, and I'll see you very shortly.
Okay, take care.
And thank you so much for joining us today. Of course, we always like to plug upcoming events. If you're interested, you can attend Thursday, which is today at 7 p.m., Balancing the New Realities of In-Person and Remote Work. I think we can all probably attend that and learn some new stuff. Movies for Grown-Ups, Sublet. Livable Communities 101 on Tuesday with myself and Darren, who is my counterpartner, aka the producer of the show. So if you're wanting to learn more about that. And then Thursday, so this actually works, this can coincide too. Our partners up at Fox Valley Technical College have a workshop called Work for Yourself at 50 Plus, which is virtual. So if you're like, oh, I think I just maybe want to dabble and get some more information, you can attend that. Small Dollar Big Impact. Oops. We're going to get, okay, Small Dollar Big Impact is going up September 15th. If you have a really cool, innovative, out-of-the-box idea, you can apply for up to $1,000 grant to do cool and creative things within your community. So if you're a nonprofit, municipality, you can find additional information at aarp.org/WISDBI, which means Small Dollar Big Impact. Once again, applications are due September 15th. And then for next week's show, we're going to be, it's Intergenerational Month, so we're going to have a conversation with Encore.org. So if this is the first time you didn't even know it was Intergenerational Month and want to learn more about that, you could come back here next Thursday at noon on our Facebook.com page or our YouTube page. So I want to thank you so much for joining us today. Feel free to share this video on your Facebook page or your YouTube page, and we will see you next Thursday. And until then, be safe.